Let's get some more on this. Former Manhattan prosecutor Jeremy Saland is here with me. Okay, so what do you think of the options that Kara's laying out here?
I think he's in a real bind, and that Monday.
A bind of his own design.
Well, no doubt, of course. And he can't just turn around and sell property, even if he had a buyer. What are we forgetting here? There's something called long-term capital gains. So there's a tax consequence to him. Is he going to declare bankruptcy to those particular companies? Well, that's certainly not a good look right leading up to an election for the man who's really the king of business. So he's really finding himself in a difficult place. What Attorney James does is yet to be seen, but she could extend him, give him more time if she's so kind to do so. There's a lot of options here for the Attorney General.
You're not in the AG's office. You're not in Letitia James' mind. But what do you think is likely to happen Monday if he doesn't get this figured out?
Well, I think at a minimum you would think she'd put a lien on the property because it's not so easy to just seize someone's assets.
Right.
It's not, you don't just do that like this.
Right.
You don't just freeze someone's bank account with a snap of a finger. There's a process, and that process can be challenged as well, even though she has a right to proceed. So I think the easiest way, for lack of a better term, which is not necessarily easy, is a lien. But more so than what she's going to do, it's really what is he going to do. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't have the dollars to put it up, and he doesn't have Chubb to come rescue him like he did with E. Jean Carroll.
What do you think of the bankruptcy option? I mean, do you think as time progresses, even if an extension was given, does bankruptcy, the longer this is a problem for him, does bankruptcy become a more and more likely option?
Well, if you look historically at Donald Trump, you understand and know that he has used bankruptcy to his advantage. But while you don't have me out here to be a political commentator, I don't see that as an option.
There's a political calculation to whatever move he would make.
I don't see that as from a legal perspective, yes. But from a political perspective, one would think that's a difficult scenario leading up to an election because he's also somewhat conceding defeat, whereas that's not what he's saying. I'm the victim and I'm going to fight back. So I don't see that as an option right now.
It seems, from the layman, it's messy with the bond and the appeal. What impact does the bond have on the appeal?
So everyone should understand this is not sort of debtor's prison. In other words, you don't have to be rich to be able to appeal a civil case or a criminal case. So that money is not giving him the right to appeal. He always has a right to appeal.
Yeah.
What that money is going to do is stop the action so that it's not ticking in terms of interest. Because as you know, and let's look back at E. Jean Carroll, the Chubb gave money for not just the bond, but for the interest too, right? Because it's going to keep on ticking until it's finite.
And I think the latest is the interest is $115,000 a day. I mean, it's
not palatable for anyone.
Yeah. So, can a judge step in and say this needs to be? We need to lower this figure or lower the. Is there a gray area? Is there a tween?
It's not necessarily a gray area, but there is an appellate court. Yes. So it goes from the trial court, which is Judge Engoron, and then it goes to an appellate court. And that appellate court can say, theoretically, Mr. Trump, I agree with you, $100 million is sufficient. Mr. Trump, I agree with you. We're going to stop or pause or stay. And then that interest isn't ticking, and it can be litigated and resolved.
Caitlin Collins had reporting that she's hearing that kind of everyone around Donald Trump, they've kind of entered panic mode on what to do. As Kara talks about, they've known about this happened in mid-February. What do you think the timing? Do you think it's just they have been trying to find someone to underwrite this, and this is what's pushed them up against the deadline? But I ask that because part of the Donald Trump strategy has always been delay, and I'm wondering, I have no idea, but I'm just curious if you think that could be part of this.
There's different versions of delay. There's an incentive to delay in a criminal case because the theory would be that he could potentially pardon himself or it could push back the election. The same incentive for him to delay doesn't exist now because every day he delays, every second he delays, there's a dollar equation that is involved here. So I don't see this as a delay tactic. It's him. Could he thought of something else possibly? But I don't think that's it.
So interesting. Thanks for coming in. It's great to see you, Jeremy.
Good to see you.